Chapter 2 Trespassers. Steph's feet are planted firmly on a suburban floor mat, her nails digging into the armrest with her body pressed deep into the weathered cloth bucket seat.
Slow down! You don't have control of the truck and it's fucking sliding. You're gonna wreck us!
I'm in four-wheel, shut up!
You could still wipe out in four-wheel. You don't have to drive like this. Nobody is fucking chasing us. So just please slow the fuck down.
Dean glances at her briefly, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. Gradually, he lets off of the accelerator. As the truck slows, he gains more control, and Steph releases her death grip from the armrest. She takes in a few shuddering deep breaths, finding it near impossible to calm herself now that she's an accomplice to murder. From the corner of her eye, she watches Dean leaning forward on his steering wheel with his fingers hooked on top of it. His lips are puckered in an unhappy firmness with a touch of squinting anger in his eyes. Neither of them say another word for the next few miles. Still shaken up and frustrated, Steph unwraps the pack of cigarettes she took from the store, but not before wiping a spot of blood from the thin plastic wrapping.
You didn't have to kill him,
she says, breaking their silence.
We were supposed to just go in there and scare the shit out of him. That's all.
She cracks her window open, lights a cigarette, then takes a long drag.
Scare the shit out of him. And make a little money in the process. That's all.
What'd you expect me to do? You told that jig my name, Steph. Then you screamed all crazy and shit. I thought he pulled a gun, so I shot him.
With her hands still shaking, Steph takes puff after puff until her cigarette is nearly gone within a couple of minutes. She crams the finished butt through a partially opened window while holding in her last drag of smoke.
Where are we going?
She asks calmly, then blowing the rest of the smoke through the window.
What do you mean, where are we going? We have to finish the job.
You're shitting me, right? We just killed the dude. We're in a stolen truck and we're going to his house now? Oh my... Are you fucking nuts? Abort mission, man.
He glances at her.
We were paid good money. We hit the house as planned. Search it, then get the fuck out of Dodge.
That was the plan. But now it's gonna be even harder to find anything since you killed him. He was supposed to be with us for this part, but you had to get greedy with the whole freaking where's the safe?
We just have to look around so we aren't risking being caught any faster because we won't take long. Relax. Besides, it's just one dude, and he lives alone. How big can the house be?
6:23 p.m. Approximately 30 minutes before nightfall, Dean and Steph pull in front of an old, white, two-story Victorian-style home that is barely visible in the subsiding storm. Hints of the front porch are visible from under the huge snowdrifts formed around it, as if the home were sinking in a sea of white waves. A forest of snow-capped trees framed the backyard, and on the sides, random pines and bushes outline its flanks. It was one of only a few houses on a long road in Harrisburg, North Carolina. A living room curtain of the brown house across the road is gradually pulled back while the homeowner observes the Suburban approaching.
Wow. That's pretty big for one dude to live in.
Steph says, rolling her window down to get a clearer view. The snow blows in, cooling the comfortable warmth they had sat in for nearly an hour.
Now what?
Dean parks the SUV in front of the house, then cuts the engine.
Let's make this quick.
Steph takes notice of the distance in the deep snow, then flashes a defiant gaze back at him.
Hell no! You could have pulled up closer to the front door. Don't you think?
What, get stuck? Quit your bitching and let's go. And not the front door either. Head to the back.
Fuck, that's even further.
Dean wastes no time jumping out into the snow, leaving Steph with no option but to do the same. The snow is deep coming up to her crotch, She has to lift her knees high if she is to gain any ground and catch up to the taller Dean, who has no problem stepping through like an elk, the snow barely coming above his knees. Steph, now shivering, stands closer to Dean for warmth as he fumbles around for the right key to the old paint and wood chip door. She notices the forest tree line behind them, and how still it looks despite the harsh blowing wind. The dark, thin trees shoot up to the sky. The overcast covers their true height. Even though it was bright and white outside, the forest had a dark look and feel to it. She then notices the tiny path into it, dark and narrow. She couldn't shake the sensation, the feeling that something was out there, looking back at them through the trees. Dean drops his keys.
Damn it!
He exclaims, startling Steph from her gaze as he kneels into the snow.
What?
Drop the damn keys in the snow.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
She says, cold and nervous as she bounces on her toes.
This is a bad sign. I think we should just go. It's gonna be dark soon. Like, real soon.
Dean ignores her and removes his right glove to fish around in the deep snow.
Got him. Haha.
He brags, dangling them in her face. The hinges of the screen doors squeal, along with the sound of the rusted storm door spring stretching across the middle as he opens it. Once again, he fumbles with the keys, trying one after the other until the fifth key finally turns the deadbolt lock. The door doesn't open. Dean leans into it with his shoulder and breaks the door free from the thick, dried paint that sealed it.
That's funny.
What's wrong?
It's like this door hasn't been open in a while.
The door creaks and pops open, with bits of paint and dust falling to the floor. He peeks inside. Immediately, the combined smell of mold and mildew saturate his nose with a musty odor.
Phew, damn it, that's bad. I can barely see a damn thing in here. We're gonna have a hard time in about 30 minutes.
Steph wastes no time entering, shoving her partner inside to escape the cold. She then grabs a hold of the door to close it, but it snatches away from her grasp and slams shut. For a moment, she pauses, staring at the doorknob in wonder of what just happened.
Had to have been the wind from the storm.
She thought.
Shit, that's horrible. You would think he'd clean this place once.
Dean scans the kitchen, only able to see what the fading light through the window above the sink would provide. Part of the kitchen counter, an old wood table, and chair are barely visible. The darkness of the room makes it even harder for him to ignore the overwhelming smell.
You don't smell it?
He asks, almost begging the question for confirmation it wasn't just him. Steph breaks her stare with a grimacing frown.
Jeez, that is funky. But it is an old house.
While stomping the snow from their boots and dusting themselves off, Dean notices a faint echo from the noise they are creating. The type of echo made when someone moves into their home, a home that's empty with nothing to absorb the sound. Shh, shh. He taps Steph, still swatting the snow from her crotch and pants on the shoulder. She pauses to listen.
What?
He feels along the wall next to the door and flips the light switch, revealing a near-empty and spacey kitchen. The only furniture, a small, dusty, old table, 2 kitchen chairs, and an old yellow refrigerator that was partially hidden behind the door when they entered. There are 2 other doorless entries to the kitchen, one directly in front of them, and the other to the right, framing the pitch darkness on the other side. They both stood, puzzled.
What the hell is this?
You sure this is the right house?
Well, the keys worked, didn't they?
Are you sure this old guy lives here?
Steph opens the yellow cabinets, each one bare and dusty inside.
I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but it looks pretty fucking empty in here to me.
She says, leaving them all open. Dean takes interest in a yellow and near antique refrigerator to their left, pulling the silver handle to the freezer up top. Empty. He then opens the refrigerator door below. The interior light doesn't come on, and the inside is practically bare, housing all but one blue Tupperware bowl on the top rack. The temperature inside is slightly warmer than the kitchen. He flicks the refrigerator bulb with his middle finger a couple of times.
Here, it's probably not plugged in.
Steph says, noticing the loose cord dangling from the bent nail on the wall, and reaches for it.
Don't worry about it. Leave it alone.
Dean orders before she could grab it. Curious, Dean reaches for the bowl just as the refrigerator starts running. The light inside flickers, then steadies to a low-watt glow. He draws back his hand as if he were avoiding a steel trap.
You fucking...
Steph, standing behind him, but facing the opposite direction, looks around the empty kitchen as he grabs and opens the container. He peels back the lid, breaking the vacuum seal. Immediately, he could hear crackling, like an amplified bowl of Rice Krispies cereal. He snatches off the lid to find it full of rotting meat, teeming with maggots.
Shit!
He yells, dropping the bowl. The light in the fridge flickers out. Steph spins around.
What? What's wrong now?
She looks over his shoulder.
Goddamn maggots, man!
He hisses as he quickly jumps to his feet and frantically wipes his hands on his pants. The kitchen light blows out with a flash, and in that instance, unbeknownst to them, a dark, man-like figure appeared in a doorway leading to the hall behind them.
This is just not working out for shit.
Get out your phone.
Steph impatiently removes her gloves, then her cell phone from her coat pocket, and activates her flashlight app. Within seconds of the app being used, her phone beeps.
Fuck. I thought I charged this thing.
She aims the beam of light toward the spilled contents in front of Dean.
Maggots? Oh my gosh. Looks like a bowl of rice to me, you idiot.
Dean takes another look. Molded brown rice and square chunks of what looks like meat dumped in front of him. But no maggots.
Man, I must be losing my shit.
He thought. He kicks the container away, splattering the contents against the wall near the outlet where the cord dangled. He grabs the cord with a confused frown on his face, then plugs it in. The light comes on once again, but this time, a little brighter than before.
You should have kicked your meth habit like you did that bowl. And maybe you wouldn't be seeing shit.
Fuck off. I swear that damn bowl had... Never mind. Let's just do this and get the hell out of here.
Whatever.
She turns her attention towards the doorless doorway in front of them, which she soon finds out leads into a dark hallway.
There has to be another light switch around here somewhere. We should just leave that fridge open until we find something.
She says, panning her light down the hall to the left, leading to a room at the end, then to her right where she could see a portion of the foyer staircase. She decides to take her chances venturing down the hall to her right, ignoring the door she passes in the middle of the hall on her left. The wooden floorboards groan with every step. The end of it brings her to the entrance of the foyer. With the front door to her left, she pans her light to the right, revealing an empty living room with a large fireplace.
And you're positively sure this is the right place?
Yeah, why?
Dean says, following behind her. The floorboards scream even louder under his heavier step. She turns towards the front door, noticing an entrance to the dining room to her left, also empty.
Well, look for yourself.
They both stand in a living room entrance, puzzled. The bright glowing white scenery outside provides them with very little light through the bare curtainless windows. The old wood flooring pops and creaks as they enter it. Her phone beeps again.
Kill your light and save the battery. We can see for now and may need it for later.
Where's your phone?
She says, putting hers back into her pocket.
Out in the truck.
Steph lets out a disapproving sigh, then flips one of the 3 light switches on the wall. Then the other 2. Nothing.
That's not gonna work.
He says, pointing at the ceiling.
No light bulbs. There's gotta be one somewhere, though. Just check the other rooms and grab one.
Dean follows behind her to the living room.
Shit, there's no light bulbs in here either. Looks like when they moved out, they took more than just the furniture.
He says, raising to his toes to knock down the old dusty cobweb.
Come on,
says Steph, leading him to the base of the large foyer staircase that ran up along the wall and ended in still darkness above. The little bit of light from the refrigerator shines dimly through the other doorless entrance of the kitchen that leads into the living room, but it wasn't enough to light the way. Steph activates her flashlight app once again and points the wide beam into the room, revealing the beautifully finished yet dusty wooden flight of stairs. The risers, tread, banister, and rail all share the same dark stain. She gently places her hand upon the top of the brilliantly hand-carved Noel in the shape of a large acorn, detailed with tiny leaves swirling to the tip. She aims her light to show their path, but the darkness seems to swallow her light. They both hesitate to climb.
Now that's creepy. You first.
Yeah, right. You're the one with the flashlight.
He takes a step down and behind her.
Wow. What a man you are, dude. What a man.
They both edge the stairs, dragging their shoulders across the wall, wide-eyed and hearts beating heavy. The stairs grumble with every step, each sounding louder than the last. Dean sticks close behind her, looking down at the dimly lit foyer. He doesn't dare mention to her the chill he felt at his back, the feeling of something behind him, watching.
No. After that last comment she made, I'll just save myself the embarrassment. Man up, bro, man up.
He thought.
Stop pushing me,
she says, pulling her shoulder from his firm grip. He pulls his hand back, unaware he had been touching her.
Well, hurry up then.
What? You scared? You know you could have gone first.
They stop near the top 3 steps, pausing before stepping onto the landing. Her dimming flashlight barely gives them the clear path they need as she takes the final step and aims it down the dark hallway. The dying light outside gives her just enough light to show her one door to the right, which is open, and the closed door across the hall. They were the closest doors to them. They continue down the hall, toward the room to the right with extreme caution. Dean still follows closely at her back. She peeks in while she eases the door the rest of the way open. The door drags on its hinges as she steps inside. The room was empty like the others, and gave off a feeling inside that brought chills up her spine. A large, multi-paned window in front of them brings in the wintry glow outside. Yet, the room itself seemed to give off its own blackness. The walls and floor are straight and plain, with an even darker stain than the staircase. She spots the light fixture above. Out of the 3 light sockets, only one contained a bulb. Dean leaves her side to look out of the bedroom window. She locates the light switch and flips it on. Nothing happens.
Shit. Are you serious? Did this guy living here have something against lights?
Or maybe it's a fuse box. I don't know. But we don't have time for all that. I think we should just give up on finding a light and find this stash,
he says, watching the sun on an overcast sky disappear on the horizon. Steph removes the light bulb and shakes it, groaning after hearing the sound of the broken filament rattling around inside.
We can make this quick if we split up,
Dean says, turning to face her.
Are you kidding? There's nothing here. Look around.
We don't have any time for any bullshit debate, Steph. It's here, hidden. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten paid to look for it. We need to cover as much ground as possible before we lose what little light we have. Check for faulty walls, hidden compartments, loose bricks, wood, whatever. And do it quick. Okay? You take the downstairs. I gotta piss.
He unzips his pants near the corner by the bedroom closet.
Go to the bathroom, you fucking pig.
Shut up. What does it matter? No one lives here, obviously.
His sigh of relief and the sound of his trickling pee disgusts her. She throws her hands up as if surrendering and backs out from the room. The house is darker now. The handrail and bolsters framing the landing are barely visible down the hall.
Dean wasn't joking. It's getting dark quick,
she thought. She peers down into the foyer before creeping down the stairs. About halfway to the bottom, her phone beeps, then powers off. She smacks it with her hand as if it were a flashlight with a loose battery.
Damn it.
She angrily shoves it back into her jacket pocket. Dean lets out another sigh of relief, then widens his stance to avoid the growing puddle of pee between his black combat boots. Behind him, the bedroom door was gradually, yet silently closing. He thought he saw it move and flinched a bit, but shook it off and continued to relieve himself. Then, with great force and speed, the door slammed shut. He jumped, quickly looking behind him.
Fuck. What the hell's your problem?
He continues draining himself in the corner, unaware of the closet door opening beside him. Steph, still on the stairs, also jumped from the sound created by the sudden impact of the slamming door. She turns and looks up the staircase.
Asshole!
She continued her descent, down the now even darker foyer and staircase, questioning herself.
Why am I doing this again? Why the hell did we separate in this creepy-ass house? Isn't that the last thing you're supposed to do in a scary movie? You're an idiot for getting yourself into this, Steph.
She thought. She couldn't believe what she was doing, walking down the creepy, creaking steps of a creepy house. She found herself trembling the closer to the foyer she became, her heart thumping against her sternum. The only thing driving her was to get this all over with quickly. Consequently, the only way to do that is to do what Dean said they needed to, and fast. Finally, she reaches the bottom step and into the foyer. With the refrigerator still providing some light for guidance, she creeps along on the balls of her feet to the hallway and stops at the door she had passed before.
Probably the basement.
As she reaches for the door handle, she cringes at the thought of going down there alone. Almost as fast as she touched the handle, she grimaces and removes her hand from the door as if it were covered with fecal matter.
I'll try that door last.
As she passes the entrance to the kitchen, she notices something odd. The cabinets she was sure she had left open are now closed. She stands, puzzled in the doorway, panning the dimly lit kitchen, then continued to the door at the end of the hall. She peers through the multi-pane window on her tiptoes.
Mudroom?
With little hesitation, she opens the door and begins checking the cabinets, one after the next coming up empty-handed. She tries one last cabinet above the washer and dryer hookups and reaches deep inside.
Yes!
She hisses, pulling out a beat-up silver flashlight. She shakes it, rattling the loosely fitted D-size batteries inside. A flick of the switch and a few taps to the bottom of the dusty device gives her a bright beam of light. She had hoped the light would ease her fear of the surrounding darkness, but instead it casts dancing shadows in every corner. Inanimate objects seem to have a life of their own as she wields the light about.
Calm down, calm down. Let's get this shit over with, Steph. I guess the kitchen is just as good of a place as any to start.
Through the kitchen window, she admires the view of spooky snow-capped trees framing the backyard. The snowstorm had finally subsided, leaving a beautiful scene of a winter wonderland. She notices something small that moved swiftly through the forest and stopped at the base of a tree. It's too dark to make out what it is, but there is definitely something hiding, peeking from around a thin tree trunk. The floor groans behind her, yet she doesn't turn around.
Dean! Come look at this. I swear there's something in the woods right here.
She says, keeping her eyes trained on what seemed like a small child. She aims her flashlight through the window, but the bright glare reflects back at her. She drops the light to her side and peers through the window once again. It's gone.
Dean!
Still no answer. Frustrated, she leaves the kitchen and into the hallway, shining her light down the length of it and into the foyer. But the basement door is now wide open and blocking part of her view.
Dean? You there? I swear, if you're trying to scare me, this is the wrong time.
She pauses, waiting for an answer or noise. She then eases toward the basement door, extending her hand out timidly for the doorknob. She grabs the cold metal knob and pulls the door open wider to make her way around it. The high-pitched squeal of the hinges drown out her voice as she yells for her partner again.
Hey, you down there?
She stares down at the wood-planked steps leading into a dark abyss.
Yes.
She aims her new light down, cutting through the darkness with ease. No one is there. Just dusty steps and a brick wall at the bottom.
Why are you down there in the dark? How the hell can you see? Come on up. This place is starting to freak me the fuck out, man.
The batteries shift in the shaft of her new tool, and the light goes out.
You come down here. I got something to show you.
She takes one step down, then stops. Something doesn't feel right to her. Besides, the voice didn't respond like the aggressive-sounding man she was used to. She backs up to the top, then shakes her flashlight, which flickers, yet doesn't stay on.
Dean!
The wood stairs creak from below, slowly, one after the other, closer and closer, then stop. Her breath quickens and her heart beats heavily as she steps back, still looking down into the pitch blackness below, and grabs the basement door behind her. Whatever it is making the stairs creak felt like it was only a few steps away from her. Slow, wheezing tight breaths grew closer to her as she stood, horror-struck. Then, something whispered with a raspy voice. "It's so cold." It was so close she could feel his speaking breath near her lips. Her eyes gape open. Panic-stricken, she falls back to the wall, hitting her head. "So cold." Her shock and shortness of breath robs her the ability to scream. She kicks the door closed, grabs the flashlight, then races for the foyer, tripping at the base of the stairs. Her flashlight bounces off the stairs, flickers on, then skittered across the floor, stopping with the beam aiming down the hall towards the basement.
Dean!
She screams, looking toward the upstairs. The flashlight dims out just as the basement door bursts open. Slow, heavy footsteps approach. Suddenly, cold air rushes across her body, tightening her skin. She lets out the breath she was holding from the paralyzing fear. It floats out in front of her, making her panic. Taking high-pitched, quivering breaths, she scrambles on all fours up the steps. Reaching the landing, she pauses on her hands and knees to look behind her. Tears well in her eyes as she stands, using the wall for a crutch. She looks behind her and down the upstairs hallway, wondering why Dean hasn't come to her aid, but it's too dark to see anything. She turns her attention back downstairs when movement in a shadowy corner near the front door catches her eye. Still breathing heavily, she focuses in on the source of the movement.
Is that you, Dean? Stop fucking around, man.
Suddenly, the roaring engine of a truck and its heavy plow dragging across the pavement and through the snow approaches outside. Its blinding lights blaze through the front door window and brightens the entire foyer, revealing to her an empty corner, the same corner she knows she saw movement. The truck's rumbling fades into the distance, along with its lights, bringing things back to darkness. From the stairs, she backs up carefully and enters the hall, but each one of her steps is matched with an ascending step. She stops for a moment, yet the footsteps keep climbing, then increase in speed. She turns down the hall blindly, dragging her hands along the wall until she comes across the door leading to the bedroom she's sure Dean is still in. She grabs the knob, jerking and pulling, but it won't open.
Open the fucking door, Dean!
She shoves her shoulder into the door multiple times, yanking and kicking frantically at it. When the approaching footsteps reach the top of the stairs, she charges the door one last time, breaking through and falling to the floor inside. She scrambles to her hands and knees to slam the door shut. The footsteps stop. There would be practically dead silence if it weren't for her rapid, quivering breaths. She presses her feet firmly against the base of the door, when suddenly the doorknob slowly turns, chirping and squealing to the left, then even slower, dragging and grinding to the right. For a moment, there was nothing, until violent pounding behind the door began shaking the walls around her, echoing throughout the room. She places her hands firmly over her ears to protect them from the deafening sound. She knows her tiny legs aren't strong enough to hold out whatever was on the other side.
This door must be stuck in the same way that the back door was when we entered.
She thought. She could feel it, pushing, gradually forcing its weight against the center of the door. The mysterious thing behind it begins ramming with force. With each blow, the screws holding the hinges to the frame loosen and begin to strip from their settings. She slowly stands to her feet, watching in horror as the door's structure begins to crumble before her. She takes 2 steps backwards. There's no escape besides the window behind her. No one else knows she's there besides Dean.
Where is he?
She takes another step back, breathing heavily through the curled fingers over her mouth. She takes another step back, tripping and falling over the legs of Dean, who is on the floor and leaning against the wall near the window. His eyes are wide open and pupils pure white. The look of terror is frozen on his face. She grabs him by the jacket with both hands.
Dean! Dean!
His head tilts back with a thud against the wall, and his jaw clicks open like the sound of splintering ice cubes. A last frosty breath floats from his lips, expanding and thinning out into nothing. She releases him from her grasp, with wide-eyed terror in her eyes. His dead body slumps to one side and tips over face down onto the floor.
Oh my God!
She places her shaky hands over her lips.
Oh no, Dean!
The door continues to bow inward, and the wood splinters with each blow to it. The sound of the door cracking and the smaller wood fragments soaring toward her bring overwhelming fear. She screams loudly in distress, then cries in defeat, cowering next to Dean's lifeless body, her only defense to whatever it is on the other side of that door. She suddenly notices the gun, the revolver still tainted with the blood of the store owner and held loosely at Dean's fingertips. She wastes no time retrieving it, frantically checking it for bullets with her violently shaking hands. Trembling with fear, she aims at the weakening door, which finally bursts open. 2 bright shining lights shoot through, blinding her.
Police! Drop your weapon. Drop it now. Now!
Outside, the quiet calmness after the storm is broken by the sound of multiple gunshots going off inside of the house of 2300 Brookshire Lane. We want to thank you for listening. And if you liked the video, please be sure to subscribe and crush that like button in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Until next time.
Picking out dough.